Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts. And today, listeners, I've got Julianne Cantarella. Is that spelt or said correctly, Julianne?
Yes, it's actually Cantarella. So Julianne Cantarella.
Julianne Cantarella. Okay, thank you so much for putting me right there, because I do like to get people's names correct. And you are a dating coach and relationship expert, and just so aligned with what I teach and what I do. I'm just so excited to invite you on. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, I'm truly happy to be here. Thank you.
And Julianne, can you let the listeners know a little bit about yourself and what led to you actually doing what you're doing?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so my story is I am a social worker therapist, and I worked with people and their relationships for years prior to getting into the industry I'm in now as a dating coach. Full disclosure, I'm also a matchmaker, but I don't really, I'm trying to scale that back and just do more coaching, because after being in the industry for 16 years, what became very apparent to me was I could match someone with their most perfect partner, and I have, but it didn't work because they themselves didn't do the inner work. They didn't do make the changes, or made themselves open to receiving, I should say. So when I realized that more and more people were doing better once in their relationships, once they engaged in coaching, that's when things were changing. And it became really apparent to me that through coaching, women, especially, because that's who I particularly work with, were making changes and choices that were better for them long term. So I don't know if you heard that ding, and I apologize. I'm going to try and turn off my my notifications. Anyway, so when I saw the changes happening, that's where I said, "Oh, there's something really important here that I need to explore more." And then as I was doing more coaching, more and more of my clients were having successes. So it was like really exciting for me to see the changes that would happen through coaching. So that's why I'm doing more coaching and stepping away from matchmaking, because people think matchmaking is a quick and easy fix, and it's not. The change has to come from within.
Absolutely. Very, very on board, and 100% agree with what you just said, because I think we can go to matchmakers, we can go on dating sites and apps, but what we're tending to do is take our baggage with us, aren't we? And unless we change that and heal that, we're just going to probably end up engaging in a relationship which is going to repeat the patterns of what's happened to us in the past, aren't we?
Exactly.
So today, Julianne, we discussed what would be a great topic for us to delve into today. And it was dating after divorce or after a separation. If you're not actually a person that's been married or been in the past relationship where there was marriage involved, there can still be a relationship that you might have recently broken up from, whether that's long-term or short-term. And we thought it'd be great to delve into what's dating like after you've been divorced or separated.
So this happens to be somewhat of an area of expertise. When I first started coaching, I noticed I happened to be in Manhattan, and what I was noticing is that a lot of the coaches and the matchmakers focused a lot on the younger set, the 20-somethings, the 30-somethings, and the singles over 40 were kind of being left behind. And that's when I realized that there was a need, the the unmet need for singles over 40 to have their hand held a little bit. So now today I work with singles over 40. I work with younger sets too, but particularly those who have been divorced, widowed, come out of a long-term relationship and need the guidance and need the help, because it's really scary once you've been in a long-term relationship and then you're faced with the prospect of having to get out there again. It can be very scary and overwhelming. And of course, everyone hears only the horror stories and none of the successes. We love to hear, unfortunately, the horror and not necessarily, all of the good things that can come out of dating and relationships as well. So I help women navigate that modern dating world and use online dating or other ways to meet people, because again, it's scary, but it's possible to meet someone.
And I also want to delve into the reason why, because I know that the majority of my audience are women, and I want to delve into the reason why maybe women don't necessarily understand why we do target speaking and helping women. And it's because, men are different to women, and they think differently, they behave differently. They're not only just physically look different, but men are less likely to reach out for self-help because they're men. They like to be very solution focused for themselves. So usually when it comes to self-help, it is women that tend to reach out. And usually just by working with women, we can have a positive impact in then affecting, the way that a future potential man can respond and react to that person.
Yeah, absolutely. To your point, men are less inclined to ask for help. I always liken it to, they don't want to ask for directions. So they're not going to ask for help here too. And definitely, I also see, and it's funny because I'm going to be posting a little video that I did. I find it almost unusual that women, and I hope this isn't too controversial, but women really like to look to male coaches as guides. And it's so funny because I think so often in reviewing it, very often the male coaches blame the women for the behavior and the outcome.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that. It's
yes.
Like I just watched, I happened to watch a video yesterday of a male coach who happens to be very well known. And he was talking about an exchange with a man and a woman, and then he blamed the woman for the outcome.
Yeah.
You and I want to empower women. We want to say to them, no, you don't have to put up with this behavior.
Exactly.
You can be nice. You can be, you don't have to be aggressive and angry, because that brings in, and this, that masculine energy. And we don't want to do that. But what we want to do is set limits and boundaries. And we want to do that from the beginning so that we can set the stage for a healthy relationship. And I think that's what's missing for women. They think that, if I say the right thing and I do the right movements and I do this or that, then I'm going to have the magical outcome. No. What you have to do is stand in your truth. What you have to do is be strong in your convictions and know that by setting limits and boundaries from the beginning around someone's behavior, that's going to have a better outcome for you. It's going to serve you. It's going to make you feel better and not second guess yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. I think the boundaries thing, I don't think you can stress that enough in terms of what you've just been talking about, Julianne, because I think a lot of women are too afraid to rock the boat. They think, I'll be the bigger person. I'll forgive him. It's more loving and nurturing, or more feminine to allow and forgive what actually is unacceptable behavior. And actually what you're doing then is condoning that behavior and actually setting a precedent for him to keep repeating that.
Exactly. I always say you're setting precedent for how someone's going to treat you. Absolutely. And to your point about the women thinking I'm more feminine if I'm forgiving, I do want to talk about, when you're fine, this is after the dating phase and you're in a relationship with someone and Yeah, there are moments where you're going to have to be forgiving. Absolutely. And you can't always be right. But in the early stages, when someone's courting you, that's when they're telling you who they are. That's when you have to look at their behavior and say, is this behavior making me happy? Is this behavior making me comfortable? Is this behavior making me feel good about myself? And if you can't say yes to that, then you need to look at, is this person you're dating right for you?
Yes.
And I think a lot of women get that very confused. I think they think, again, if I twist myself into a pretzel or I say the right thing, I'm going to get that guy I think is so wonderful. Because, and that goes back to someone being validated through someone else's worth, right? And so the woman wants this 6 foot tall, 6-figure guy who's gorgeous and basically willing to compromise themselves to get that. And that's what the problem is, that I see that women tend to, forget what the purpose of dating is.
Definitely. And the thing is that, you don't need to fear rocking the boat. If they're going to take offense, and they might do initially, you sort of setting your standards and setting your boundaries, then they're not the right person for you. If they can't subsequently then think, actually, actually respect her for what she said there. And that's the key word, respect. That if you do challenge and say, this isn't acceptable, I don't want to be with a man that, you don't have to make it about him. You just say, I don't want to be with a man that says he's going to schedule a date and then keeps not showing up, for example.
Yes, exactly. That's where we have to say, he's not showing up. He's not making me feel good. Why am I going to put my time and my energy into someone who's not making me a priority?
Yeah. And I think you don't need to fear people, or regardless of who they are, being and showing you who they are. So, for example, a liar will always show you that they're a liar. A cheater will always show you they're a cheater. A player will always show you that they're a player. So, just look and people will show you who they are.
Exactly. It's that saying. It's the saying, if someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Yes.
And it's always about behaviors, right? We talk, I'm sure you do too. We talk about how it's not what someone tells you, it's what someone does. Someone could tell you you're beautiful, you're gorgeous, you're the best thing that ever happened to them. But if they're not behaving in a way that supports those words, that's really what you need to look at, not what they're saying, what they're doing.
Yeah. And so when I speak to women about trust, and they say that they don't trust, I say you can trust, because like I've just said, you can trust a liar will always be a liar. So always trust people.
Yeah. Oh, that's very good. Yeah. It's true. But to your point, when women head back into the dating world, I think that's exactly what the fear is around. Can they trust that the person they're going to meet is who they say they are? Can they trust that person's, I often hear online dating, especially, which is a great tool for women to use. And I think everyone should use it carefully and the right way. But, I hear, oh, all men are liars and all men are married. No, that's the salacious, negative things that people put out there. Not all men are married. Trust me, I like I said, I've been doing this for 16 years and I've been online with my clients for 16 years. And I have never had anything sinister happen. With that, I will knock on wood. But I have never had anybody meet someone who was married. I have never had anyone who's met someone who, is anything sinister. You do have to look at the profile, and the profile will tell you if they're separated or they're divorced or they're widowed. There are signs there to look for when you're moving through the online dating process.
And precisely, and if they haven't if they have put that they're single and they actually are in a relationship, I think, most women are switched on and will actually, like you said, know from their behavior pattern that there isn't, something quite right in that situation. You'll get the red flags, won't you?
Oh, absolutely. Like if someone doesn't have time for you and can only fit you in on, Monday evenings between 8 and 9 p.m. I mean, that is when you have to really look and say, is this person, looking for a relationship? Are they free for a relationship? Or, what else is going on for them?
What do you find, when you're speaking to, like you say, primarily the ladies that you work with, and I can honestly say it's the same for me as well, ladies and women over 40 who are either divorced or widowed and probably in a situation where they've just exited a very long-term relationship. The dating scene today is obviously very different to what it was, 20 years ago, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, so true.
Yeah. So what's the sort of first steps in terms of, helping them navigate the dating scene?
Sure. So, definitely working around mindset, and understanding what the journey is going to be like for them, potentially. And are they ready for everything, well, the emotions that are going to come along with it? Are they ready for potentially experiencing rejection, or, meeting someone who they feel could be a potential, but, then disappears on them, and all the other little things in between. So it's really important to prepare your mindset for the journey. Are you ready? Are you open to receiving? And then the next step is to let's create a plan. Let's talk about the type of guy you want to meet, who you see yourself with. I'd like to put a qualifier in there. I don't like my clients to be really hard and fast on that, on what their vision is, right?
Yeah.
Because it can change on a dime. Like,
Yes.
you can meet someone and be like, I never saw myself with someone like this, and yet they're a perfect match for you. So it's really about being open. But if you have a master's degree and you really value education, and that's something that I would say is important to look for in a partner, that's okay. Getting back to the 6-foot guy, I would tell you, make that last on your list, because
Yes.
a man's height is not a measure of his masculinity or his ability to be a good partner. Like, that is like last on the list. But envision the type of person you see yourself with. How does he make you feel when you are with him? How does he treat you? Does he make you a priority? These are the things that we really need to look at when you're looking for a partner. And then I would say create opportunity. Create opportunity to meet someone. When we were younger and we were meeting people, it was either through a friend or at work or college, what have you. Fast forward, now you have to use the modern ways of meeting someone, whether it be online dating through a meetup group. There's a site called Meetup that has different like groups that someone could join, whether it be they're interested in wine tasting or hiking or what have you, something that is personal to you. I wouldn't suggest joining a knitting club. There's a less likelihood of you finding a man there. But join a group that you're interested in to meet someone. Also, I'm a big supporter of volunteering. Volunteer for a group that is near and dear to your heart, because you're more likely to meet a like-minded person, right? So even if it's another woman you meet, maybe she has a brother, a cousin, a friend who's single, a male that you could connect with. So we women are wonderful matchmakers, and we all want everybody to be happy. So that's a good way to potentially meet someone too. And then I would say get yourself out there, but take it slowly. No, and that's my catchphrase, slow and steady wins the race. You don't have to force it. You don't have to do, I am someone who believes that it's not going to just show up at your doorstep. So you do have to create a plan. You do have to get out there and date. But you don't have to force it. And by that, I mean, don't jump into the first relationship that comes along. Because what often happens is you're immersed in this relationship. You didn't date him, really. You're past the dating phase. You're in a relationship. And the dating phase is where we can really identify if someone's a match for them. You know, harkening back to the idea that, you know, you're going to spend time with them. You're going to see how they treat you, if they make you a priority, and all of that. If you're in a relationship, you're exclusive with someone, and then all of a sudden the red flags start popping up. Now, what are you going to do? You're already in this relationship. Then you decide you're going to leave it, and you had to get back out there and date all over again. So what I typically have my clients do is do all the difficult dating up front, date a whole bunch of different guys to compare and contrast. So in 6, 8, 10 months, you're in a relationship. You've gone through the dating phase. You're then now talked about exclusivity, and you don't have to get back out there and start the dating process all over again. That's when dating gets a bad rap. Mm. That's when online dating gets a bad rap, because and I always say it's online dating. I've heard 100 times, excuse my language, but online dating sucks. Online dating doesn't suck. The user sucks, because you're not using it to your best ability. You're just taking the first warm body that comes along, the guy who you find attractive, you think is good, things seem to align, and you jump right in. Mm. I will tell you, don't do that. Pace yourself. Slow and steady, take your time, and date as many men as you possibly can at once. Yes. And I always get the question, oh, what if he asks me, you know, how am I supposed to tell him up front that I'm dating all these men? No, it's truly none of his business. And I don't mean that flippantly, but it isn't. It's not his business what you're doing. This is about you and your journey. And if he does ask you, you can say, I'm new to dating. I'm, getting out there. I'm learning how it works. And I'm really doing this with the goal of meeting someone. So he understands that, you're not playing games, but you're doing what's right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Again, really, really resonate with what you're saying and advising there. And going back, to what you were saying about, not necessarily going for physical attributes, but I would like to reinforce, going with how you want a man to make you feel, and concentrating on what are those things that a man can do for you that are going to make you feel great and happy and loved and fulfilled. And, rather than his physical attributes of, like you say, being 6 foot tall or whatever.
Yeah. I'm sure you hear it all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm so tired of that. It's like, oh my gosh. But, and I understand there has to be chemistry, right? There definitely has to be chemistry. But let me tell you, I have seen chemistry grow. I have seen a chemistry, a friendship, and a connection grow between my client and the men they meet. And it's beautiful. And, I think there's this fantasy and fairy tale that, there has to be skyrockets and fireworks and everything needs to be going off in order for me to feel, that's my soulmate. And no, because typically what happens is there's a lot of fury and fire in the beginning, and then it fizzles out. It's very nice when you can make a connection with someone on a deep, meaningful level and have those connections and experiences with them grow, because that's what takes you the long haul, that and shared values.
I can actually, resonate with that again a lot, because I've seen it with my own clients whereby, like you said, that, they've joined some sort of meetup or club and they've made friends with a guy, not necessarily been instantly attracted to that guy, but, you know, like you say, over a period of time, got to know them, and then, you know, started dating, and then not probably even in the dating phase, the sparks flying, but, you know, after a period of time, like you say, that there is that chemistry and attraction that grows and can, you know, lead to a lot of passion and sparks flying down the line.
Yeah. And what's happening there is you learn about the person, right? When there's the fireworks and all of that, that's all lust, right? You're not giving room for them to learn about you and sharing yourself with them. It's all about fireworks and chemistry and excitement. And very often I see a lot of drama peppered in there as well, you know, where women think that drama is passion and somehow the relationship is passion filled, when in fact it's just dysfunctional and it's not serving you. And down the line, you'll find that it's not working. And unfortunately, you're either going to leave unhappy or you're going to stay in a difficult relationship that's not, you know, fulfilling you on the level it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. There's, I suppose that it doesn't mean just because, you know, there is passion and fireworks to start with, that it's not going to be maintained, or that relationship isn't going to last. We're not saying that, but, you know, on the other hand, we're saying that, you know, also give guys, where that isn't the case initially, the chance for that to happen within that relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
So when it comes to helping women choose how to be safe when they're dating in this day and age, Julianne, what advice do you give around that?
Sure, that's a great question, especially if you're using online dating, right? You can meet someone organically and they could be, you know, lying to you or not presenting their genuine and authentic self. Absolutely. But when you're using online dating, there's so many things to talk about. First, I'm one of the people who believes that you don't have to put your actual town where you're living. You could put the town 2 towns over. If someone has a problem with that and you say, hey, listen, I'm a single woman using online dating, and they're like, well, why do you have to do that? Then they don't understand you. So you can start there. If there is someone who is using language that doesn't seem familiar, right? It's not the way you would speak where you're living. Here in the United States, we don't really address each other as dear. So if someone reaches out to you in an email here in the United States and it starts out, hello, dear, I blah, 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 I'm always like, that's where my antenna comes up, because we don't address each other as dear here. It's very foreign. And so that's a clue for me. And then I watch the language, because I should share with you, I'm online with my clients all the time. I'm in the back and I'm looking and I'm reading emails and helping with emails. And, you know, I look at what someone's saying, and I will tell you, if it doesn't seem right to you and your antenna go up, I'm fine with you just deleting them. Because the truth of the matter is, yeah, you may run the risk of deleting someone who could actually be a good match, but really at the end of the day, the pool is so large, someone else will come along who's a better fit, and you don't have to second guess, you know, is this a real person or is this a fake profile?
I found that a lot of fake profiles, you know, when I was using dating sites, were saying that the man was military and usually widowed was a common thing. Yep. Military and widowed. Same. And that was a red flag for me every time I saw that. And there might have been a genuine guy that was actually military and widowed. But, you know, when I saw that, because I'd had all those previous experiences of knowing that subsequently down the line that they were fake profiles and scammers, unfortunately, that to me now is a, you know, no.
No, you're absolutely right. That, and they're typically military, in construction or engineer. Then they'll engage in a, you know, email exchange with you and tell you, oh, I have to go overseas to do a job. and then some tragedy hits, and that's when they'll hit you up for money to help with the tragedy. So that's the typical way it plays out, unfortunately. So to your point, Lynn, if someone says that they're widowed in the military, construction, or engineer, question it. That, and if there's only like 1 or 2 pictures. If there's like a profile that someone happens to be a widow and in the military and you're attracted to them, but make sure there's like a lot of good different pictures, because that's typically they'll choose like 1 or 2. Very often they hijack a profile that's left dormant. So that's the other thing that could happen. But just watch how the language is and how it makes you feel. And if you're sensing that it's not real, then you can delete. And of course, I know I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to, you never, ever give money to anyone.
No, you can 100% say that is a huge red flag if they invent, because it's going to be an invented drama usually, isn't it? That it requires you to send them money to help them out.
Yeah, so never give money to anyone. You're not in a relationship with this person. It's that comes up, you just delete it. Or I would encourage you to block and report.
Yes. Yeah, I'd second that 100%. So, Julianne, thank you so much for sharing your wise wisdom and insights today around dating after divorce, or, after coming out of a long relationship or losing a relationship. So you've been an amazing guest, and I really have enjoyed our conversation today.
I have too. Thank you so very much for having me.
So, Julianne, to the benefit of the audience, what is your best contact information that you can share with them today if anybody wanted to follow up with you?
Sure, you can reach me at my website, which is juliannecantarella.com. And you can email me through there, or you can email me at julianne@juliannecantarella.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much again, Julianne. It's been a fascinating conversation.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I had such a great time. It went very fast.
It did. Yes. So it just leaves me to say, as always, true love starts with opening our hearts. And until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group 2 Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.